Sounds like you
Pretty cool.
study boobs a lot, butthead.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep. We definitely do.
Welcome to the Grand Theft World podcast, hosted and sponsored by Grand Theft World members at grandtheftworld.com. We might have a new website up there, yada, yada, yada. We're going to check during the show. News from this week in Grand Theft World history. Uh, Klaus, you've heard of Klaus. Klaus is out at the World Economic Forum, and he's got a new guy. It's like if you had to cast a Bond villain as the new guy at the World Economic Forum, like what's the thing that would tell you Bond villain? Maybe just give him one red eye. Maybe that's a thing. I'm sure it's just a medical condition. I'm sure it's innocent, but it just this is maybe not the best look after you just had like Dr. Evil stroking the pussycat in the form of Klaus Schwab, who likes to have a bust of Lenin behind him while he's telling you about you shall own nothing and you shall eat the bugs. Things like that. In North of America news, they have a new prime minister over in Canada. Did I say prime minister? Prime minister, I think it is. We're going to look into that. What's her face did have a commentary piece on that this week. We might have to look at that. In across the oceans, but where America still has military news, Israel's keeping busy. They've got hundreds of spies, ex-spies, ex-military guys working in Facebook. And that came alongside news this week that a former United States senator claims that this is his claim. This is a quote. I'm quoting him. He said that Jews are masters of the universe, and this comes to us via Jimmy Dore. So there might be a couple, Kurt Metzgerisms in there when we take a look at that clip. We're also going to take a look at the new Louis Theroux documentary called The Settlers, hosted by BBC. That's an analysis with Kim Iverson. I think it's a very interesting perspective. We're also going to have to take a look at the European blackouts. There was word that it was caused by an upcoming pole shift, which might be here a couple years early. It wasn't supposed to be here until 2040s, allegedly. I don't know. Have you been around for a pole shift before? They're fixing to make it interesting, or at least make you think that it's interesting when it could just be a failure of infrastructure or somebody pushed the wrong switch. It could be much ado about nothing, or it could be a sign that we need to pay more close attention and maybe we shouldn't live so far from reality. Because if electricity goes out, it causes some people inconvenience. Other people will cause us no inconvenience at all because they just go about their day and they live outside and they're not attached to like the ones and zeros network all the time. So we're gonna have to take a look at that. And coupling up with that, we have something from TruthStream called the Eliza effect. And the Eliza effect has to do with the ever increasing use of artificial intelligence technology, cybernetics, technocracy type based equipment to kind of control and surveil the world public. It's not even just against Americans anymore. They've taken their battle to the world. They're trying to internationalize this place. And then we have this other story that comes to us. It's called the Fourth Reich. I call it Fourth Reich investments. That Nazi money is behind many of the biggest companies in the world. We're going to have to take a look at that claim because I am incredulous. I cannot believe that Alan Dulles and the Wall Street guys who helped to fund the Nazis in the first place would help the Nazis save their money outside of Nazi Germany to survive World War II, where it lives on today in the form of popular publicly traded companies. So we're going to have to take a look at that. And we also have special guests tonight returning to Grand Theft World for his multiple time, T. Snyder, and he has a new mini documentary. It's kind of like a vignette on the Independent Freedom Alliance participants. We have one tonight on our good friend Derek Bros, and I have not seen it yet, so we're all going to screen it together. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get into the fun, or as we get into the fun, I guess the fun starts with me saying, "Hey, what's up, Scott? How you doing?
What's up, everybody? Very
Thank you
grateful
for
to be
letting me know
here.
my video is off. That was
Oh, of course, of course, of
yeah,
course.
we're
And
doing it
yeah,
live. Yeah,
doing it live, guys. Yeah, thank you. Fresh off a emergency plumbing situation here at the house, got it all resolved right at the buzzer. So grateful to be here. Thank you.
he's bragging, not complaining, and I would like to wish you a happy May 4th.
Oh, yeah. May the fourth be with you, baby. That Luke Skywalker is such a wuss. I could totally kick his ass. Yeah, yeah. The crush on that chick with turds wrapped around her head. And then that one dude's like, Luke, I am your father. You're just jealous he has a father, fart knocker.
Actually, I
There you
think
go.
the Luke, I am your father line actually comes from Strange Brew, which comes
Yeah.
to us from the Great White North, known as Canada for the time being, until Trump makes other claims on it. But Paul Verge, how you doing out there in Canada? Canada.
I'm doing excellent. It's good to be here. Good to see you guys and ready to rock on this show tonight.
We're both gonna have to up our impressions game now that Beavis and Butthead are here.
I'll do my best for you. Anything is not a problem.
Oh,
I
very
have fewer
character
impressions, so I'm
then.
not gonna waste them in the intro. All right, so I want to go to let's go like this. I want to go to a first story because we do have teas coming up in like an hour, but before we get to the Canadian news, I want to look at this one story on. It's a Jimmy Dore clip. No, we don't want to do that one first. I want to go to this one. Klaus is out at the World Economic Forum because that's what I said in the intro. Let's just keep it like that. And if I hit Control V, it'll go to Colby. Now, this clip makes claims about the World Economic Forum. And earlier today, during the Autonomy Week 5 Q&A, I went through the entire history of the Club of Rome, World Economic Forum, Predicament of Mankind, the common enemy of humanity is humanity itself, their 30-year update, and then those are the people who brought us COVID and are looking to still do projects with you involuntarily in many ways. So I don't think because Klaus is gone, there should be any champagne uncorking. Like the dude was set to retire. He's been doing that 50 plus years. And if you think like the World Economic Forum is Klaus Schwab, it's like, no, he was a front man from the beginning. And those rich, elite, robber baron type families that created the Club of Rome to advance their purposes on the people of the world, they still exist. They still have power because the whole infrastructure was created in their favor. And until we withdraw our consent, withdraw our assumptions, and start to get learned about these situations, that's when we get to take our power back. So I think that even though it's not popular to talk about the World Economic Forum right now because they're not like doing the thing in our face, they are still operating in the background, and they are going to come back to the front lines anytime with their like next device to get us toward the end of what we know as, free human beingness and drive us into a cybernetic technocratic state. So, I mean, that's just obvious, but maybe I looked at the data longer than most people. So let's go to this coming from Lee Camp, and Klaus is out at the WEF, whatever that means. Let's see if he can explain it to us. And maybe, just maybe, Lee will make us laugh. That's called talent. Let's check it out.
The WEF has fired Klaus Schwab and brought in the former
Okay, acronyms, don't use acronyms that people don't know.
World Economic Forum
Thank you.
and brought in former Nestle CEO as the new head of the
what
WEF.
is going on with his face?
He's a cyborg. Why don't you appreciate cyborgs? You're being cyborgist. Peter Brabeck Letmath.
I would say it's Brabeck. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit if you mispronounce these people's names?
Peter Shithead is the former CEO of, and Eleanor can't look at
I
it.
can't.
Former CEO of Nestle, who famously said in 2017, humans have no right to access free water.
Water was already heavily privatized and owned by Nestle prior to him coming on with that agenda. So he's just taking over a ship that's been sailing for a long time. I was surprised. In fact, I have a book called Blue Gold, and it talked all about the privatization of water like 20, 25 years ago. So it shouldn't be surprising that the water isn't a human right guy to be put in charge of a group that says humanity is like the enemy of humanity is humanity. I mean, it's not too far. It's like the Club of Rome has requirements. He seems to fit the requirements of the job, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I mean, I've been hearing a lot of talk about the water controversy, his position on water not being a right, but about the formula scandal too, right? The whole Nestle baby formula scandal from back in like the 60s and 70s.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, well, this is a great little rabbit hole. So basically what their marketing plan was, because they came out with baby formula and they went into hospitals with sales ladies dressed like nurses, and they gave out free formula to poor neighborhoods and like mothers that were in the hospital, giving them free samples of the baby formula, enough to where they would use that and they were indoctrinating them, saying that the formula was way better than the actual breast milk, right?
Yes.
And they gave them like a 3-month supply of it for free so that their natural breast milk would stop producing. And so then they were dependent on the formula. So it was a trick to get their bodies to stop producing the breast milk naturally. And so it was a big controversy, which led to boycotts. And it was a big scandal.
Sounds like you study boobs a lot, butthead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. We definitely do. Anyway, so that stood out to me as something that's always been a very dark knock against Nestle for sure. So.
We actually had a scandal here in British Columbia as well, where Nestle had gotten the rights to this huge aquifer in Hope, BC for I think like $90 for like 1 billion gallons or something. And they were just pumping and pumping. And people were like, how could we sell that much of our water, like fresh water, for $90? This ridiculously cheap thing. And it got to the point where like there was enough pushback where the government was like, Nestle, we can't let you keep doing this because like what
People
the
are
heck?
finding out.
Yeah, once they get educated, they're like, there's just something not right about this. Like, why are certain groups of people going without clean drinking water while huge corporations can buy millions of gallons for pennies on the dollar?
Indeed. Why is that going on? Then they at the end they were talking about blood and blood. I thought they were going to talk about blood tests, and then the first thing I thought was, I wonder if that rumor is real. So it's not that DNA testing is illegal in Israel; it's just highly regulated. Now you might ask, what's your source on that? And I might say, this little newspaper called the Times of Israel, and Israel's been at war. This is day 577 apparently. Israeli genealogy company MyHeritage takes on DNA health screening. So it makes it sound like it's available unless you live in Israel. So if you go back to the summary, because here's how I found this reference. I just typed in DNA tests in Israel, and then it says it's not outright illegal, it's highly regulated. And then at the bottom, however, DNA tests for ancestry and health screening are available from companies like MyHeritage, which is what that article was about, though these tests are not available for sale within Israel. So that sounds really highly regulated. So let's go back to the article. And MyHeritage has offered a DNA testing service to its 103 million registered users since November 2016, but tests only tracked ethnic origins as revealed by users' DNA. The new kit will reveal if users are carriers of recessive genetic disorders. Oh, sounds like they're implementing like eugenics, right? So they're like, we're going to look for these diseases. Yeah, I saw a movie once about future technology in medicine where they kind of eugenically weed people out. It had Ethan Hawke and who played
Gattaca?
it? Yeah, Gattaca. Yeah, I was trying to remember the name. I remembered it had to do with the DNA letters because they rearranged them on screen. But if you guys have never seen Gattaca, I think you should watch Gattaca. It's a really good film, right? It's about a kid who's naturally born in a time when everybody is designed to be the highest genetic potential and all this stuff, and these like natural birthers are a threat to their society and all these sorts of things. And you know, I had a friend back in the day, and he's like, "This is my favorite movie." I'm like, "Dude, that's a horror story. Like, why do they want to override nature? You don't even understand nature, and you're going to try to rewrite it." That seems like if you don't understand Shakespeare and you think you're going to make it more efficient or effective, I don't know if that's going to work out. I think you might lose some of the essence there, you know, which is essentially what that movie was pointing out. It was, I think it was one of Gore Vidal's better acting roles, that and With Honors. He did a really good job playing the cocky history teacher when Joe Pesci was the homeless guy. The beauty of the Constitution is that the founders knew that they didn't know everything, right? That whole speech. We might have to play that.
Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happen. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man.